What if the Chosen One's greatest attachment wasn't to Padme Amidala, but to his own Padawan? Today we're exploring one of the most controversial, hypothetical scenarios in Star Wars lore. What would happen if Anakin Skywalker fell in love with Ahsoka Tano? This isn't just about romance. This is about examining how a single shift in emotional attachment could reshape the entire galaxy, potentially preventing Order 66. Or accelerating Anakin's fall to the dark side in ways far more tragic than we ever witnessed. Before we begin, I want to be clear. This exploration respects the canonical master-apprentice relationship between these characters. We're examining this as a thought experiment to understand attachment, the Jedi Code, and how Star Wars uses relationships to explore moral complexity. So, grab your lightsabers, because we're about to explore a timeline that would make even the Force itself shudder. Let's establish our baseline. When Anakin and Ahsoka first meet in the Clone Wars movie, he's 20 years old and already secretly married to Padme. Ahsoka is 14, assigned to him by Master Yoda as a surprise apprentice. Their relationship begins with frustration on Anakin's part. He never wanted a Padawan, viewing it as a burden that would slow him down. But something shifts, quickly. Throughout the Clone Wars series, we watch Anakin become fiercely protective of Ahsoka. He calls her Snips affectionately. He defies orders to save her. He trusts her with his life, repeatedly. The creators of the show, Dave Filoni especially, crafted their bond as one of the most genuine relationships in Star Wars. It's built on mutual respect, shared trauma, and a kind of understanding that neither finds elsewhere. Anakin sees himself in her, headstrong, passionate, unwilling to follow rules blindly. Ahsoka sees the hero in Anakin that others sometimes overlook. Now, in our hypothetical scenario, let's imagine these feelings evolve beyond the master-student dynamic. Not immediately, but gradually, as Ahsoka matures and as they survive countless battles together. The question becomes, would this save Anakin from his destiny, or doom him faster? Here's where things get psychologically complex. Anakin's core character flaw isn't love itself, it's possessive attachment, combined with fear of loss. This is established clearly in Revenge of the Sith when he tells Padme, "I can't live without you." That's not love speaking. That's attachment, rooted in childhood trauma from losing his mother and his deep-seated fear of abandonment. If Anakin developed romantic feelings for Ahsoka, we need to consider several factors. First, Ahsoka represents something different than Padme did. She's a fellow warrior who understands the Jedi life intimately. She fights beside him, rather than waiting for him. This could either make Anakin feel less afraid, because Ahsoka can defend herself, or it could amplify his fear, because he knows firsthand how dangerous their lives are. Given what we know about Anakin's psychology, the latter seems more likely. Remember the Mortis arc from Clone Wars? That 3-episode sequence where Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan encounter the Force gods? The sun infects Ahsoka with the dark side, and Anakin is absolutely devastated. He cradles her body with the same desperate energy we later see with Padme. The father has to erase Anakin's memory of seeing his future as Vader, because the knowledge would break him. This shows us that Anakin's capacity for destructive attachment extends to anyone he truly cares about, not just romantic partners. In our scenario, if Anakin fell in love with Ahsoka, his already problematic attachment issues would manifest differently, but just as dangerously. The Jedi Council would sense this immediately. Unlike his secret marriage to Padme, a relationship with his Padawan would be impossible to hide. They worked together constantly, surrounded by other Jedi. The Council would be forced to separate them. Which brings us to a crucial turning point. The Jedi Council's likely response would be swift and severe. They would remove Ahsoka from Anakin's tutelage immediately, and possibly exile one or both from the Order. This is where our timeline splits into two distinct possibilities. In the first possibility, this separation happens before Ahsoka's trial and expulsion in Season 5 of Clone Wars. Remember, Ahsoka being framed for bombing the Jedi Temple and the Council's willingness to abandon her was a pivotal moment. It shattered her faith in the Jedi institution and led to her walking away. In our scenario, if Anakin's feelings caused her removal from his training earlier, she might never experience that betrayal. However, Anakin would experience an even deeper one. he would blame the Council for destroying yet another relationship, feeding directly into Palpatine's manipulation. The Chancellor would whisper, "The Jedi fear love because it makes you strong. They want you weak and controllable." This could accelerate Anakin's fall. Without Ahsoka by his side and consumed by bitterness at the Council, Anakin becomes even more vulnerable to Palpatine's influence. When Palpatine eventually dangles the promise of saving Padme, or in this timeline perhaps Ahsoka from death through the dark side, Anakin might fall even faster than he did originally. The second possibility is more intriguing. What if Anakin and Ahsoka both chose to leave the Order together? This mirrors what almost happened when Anakin nearly left to be with Padme, and what Ahsoka actually did after her trial. If they departed as a pair, they would be free from the Jedi Code, but also from the Council's guidance. Without the structure of the Order, would Anakin be more or less stable? History suggests less. Anakin needed structure even as he chafed against it. Without it, his emotional volatility would have free rein. Now let's consider Ahsoka's role in all this, because she's not passive in this scenario. One of the most remarkable aspects of Ahsoka's character is her moral clarity. Even when she leaves the Jedi Order, she doesn't abandon its principles. She continues fighting for justice, without the title. In Rebels, we see her as Ahsoka the Grey. And later, in her own series, she embodies Jedi ideals, without the institutional baggage. If Anakin expressed romantic feelings toward her, how would Ahsoka respond? Based on her characterization, she would likely be conflicted, but ultimately concerned for Anakin. She knew him well enough to recognize his capacity for obsessive attachment. In the Clone Wars episode A Friend in Need, Ahsoka demonstrates emotional intelligence beyond her years when dealing with Lux Bonteri. She understood the danger of letting emotions cloud judgment in wartime. Would Ahsoka reciprocate Anakin's feelings? It's possible that respect and admiration could evolve into something deeper as she matured. But Ahsoka's defining characteristic is her independence. She walks away from structures that compromise her integrity. If a relationship with Anakin threatened her sense of self or put others in danger, she would likely step back. This rejection, however gentle, would devastate Anakin in ways that might prove catastrophic. Here's the heartbreaking irony. Ahsoka might actually be the one person who could recognize Anakin's descent to the dark side early enough to intervene. In our timeline, she wasn't present during Revenge of the Sith. But in this alternative scenario, if she remained close to Anakin, she might notice the warning signs. The question is, would he listen? Anakin had a pattern of ignoring those who told him uncomfortable truths. So, what happens to the galaxy in this timeline? Let's game out the most likely scenario. Anakin's feelings for Ahsoka become known to the Council. They separate the Master and Padawan. Ahsoka, hurt but understanding the wisdom of the Code, accepts this. Anakin does not. He becomes increasingly resentful, playing directly into Palpatine's long game. When Palpatine reveals himself and offers Anakin power to protect those he loves, Anakin falls to the dark side even more thoroughly than before, because now he's been rejected by both the woman he loved and the Order he served. Order 66 likely still happens. Palpatine's plan was decades in the making and didn't depend on Anakin, though having him as Darth Vader certainly helped. But here's the critical difference: Ahsoka's fate. If she's separated from Anakin earlier, she might be in a different location during Order 66. She might survive, as she did in the original timeline, or she might not. Her absence from Anakin's side could mean she's not there to later confront him, as we see in Rebels, where their reunion is one of the most emotionally devastating moments in Star Wars. Alternatively, if Ahsoka stayed close to Anakin despite everything, she might be present when he turns. This creates the darkest timeline. Anakin, consumed by the dark side and twisted by Palpatine, might be ordered to kill Ahsoka as proof of his commitment to the Sith, much like how he slaughtered the younglings. Could he do it? The Vader we know slaughtered children without hesitation, but Ahsoka isn't just anyone. This confrontation could go several ways, none of them pleasant. What if Anakin fell in love with Ahsoka? The answer seems to be that it wouldn't save him. If anything, it would add another layer of tragedy to an already tragic story. Anakin's fall wasn't caused by loving the wrong person, It was caused by his inability to love without possessing, to care without controlling, to face loss without being destroyed by it. Changing the object of his attachment doesn't change his fundamental flaw. The real lesson here is what Star Wars has been teaching us all along. Attachment isn't the same as love. And sometimes the people we care about most deeply are the ones we're least equipped to be with. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.